I should I quickly show you what came to me at 2 a.m.
Oh
in the morning.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know. I was in the bathroom and I was brushing my teeth and I was like, I think it's a little abstract because that's just how my brain works. But I have these. I showed this in my introduction video, but I have these little boards here. Sorry, this
Oh
is
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and ugh, oh my god, I'm gonna try and see if this works at all. Sorry, and this is my apart from the fact that I'm left-handed and everything looks not always super clean. Wait, sorry, I'll try to do this. So, is it mirrored? Can you read? Is it like the right way, or is everything mirrored for you? I'm just curious.
No, it's right.
Okay, it's right. Good, but it's hard.
Bird's view.
So no, I'm gonna. Sorry, this is like I'm using these really big chalk pieces, and that you can't really write with them. So I should change that. But this is just for my brain. It's like a mind map kind of thing. But so I had this whole idea of um, things, how for some reason I thought of Google Maps for a moment and how just a map, obviously when you see it from or even like a bird perspective, everything is obviously flat. And so when you change the angle, you have these skyscrapers that are all skyscrapers that are all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
there's all these different shapes and forms and things being very high, things being very low, tall buildings, short buildings. But from the bird perspective, it's everything is kind of the same. Like there's no
Mm,
height, right?
yeah.
Uh, and so for some reason, this thought came after this thought. Funny enough, so I saw your. I keep seeing your metal shapes, your metal stamps that you were using, the metal pieces where you're dyeing with, and these just these different shapes that are kind of random but are also specific in their own way, just the way they're curled up. I I kind of started seeing myself from like a bird or like a person from a bird perspective being curled up in like a similar shape
Mm-hmm.
the as the that's kind of how that thought even started. And having like almost like stills of just bird perspective shapes of the human body lying on something, but almost like a flat piece because it's bird perspective, and then your dies, and that being a part of the score in a way. This is it's just a thought that popped up, but
Like
that brought
to have this like a stamp and a person movement like
right,
merging.
and it's almost like a
Yeah.
photograph or something. It doesn't even
Mm,
have to move that much, or it can be started like a photograph and then slowly move or something. Um, but I just really like the idea of these more unusual angles for especially for the human body. It's kind of obvious that oh, I could do something now, and then I'm moving, and then like the regular perspective of just frontal, like or like a
mm-hmm.
regular frame. I kind of like the idea because these shapes started reminding me of just
Mm,
formations, how the body can maybe even be, um, and and just with like the and then dyeing and putting it on the fabric and these shapes staying in a certain way and maybe even changing slightly through the dye,
mm-hmm.
through the paint, and yeah, and just having this like kind of top angle. I mean it shouldn't be that hard to actually make that happen with technologically wise, but I didn't think that far. But I just like I like the image of it.
Mm, yeah.
Something about that is interesting to me, and that is also very musical to me in a way. I keep, yeah, I keep kind of hearing these images also, which is a funny thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyway, that was just
Yeah,
like
it's
another
funny
thought.
with like that you have this like of bodies like turning into shapes like because like I recognize it in works that I did like to have people like pose in just like
Mm,
body parts and like being partly covered behind a textile so like that they become kind of a pattern. um, So then again, we're like thinking quite similarly, I think.
And also that bring, almost there's this thing of almost an innocence and almost kind of back to the womb. And I don't know, like there's something very vulnerable about a person from a bird perspective in a weird
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exposed, and there's nothing frontal seems more like hunter gatherer form, it's more like immediate, you can do something, you can either run away or confront, or like there's this sense of also like how most movies are shot, I guess, like we're just used to frontal perspective because that's how we see each other, but we barely ever get to see a human from a bird perspective. I don't know, that's how that came about in my mind, maybe. And then the same happening with the same, like then that brought me to the city, and kind of the city being a similar thing of when we see everything frontal, it has like its very particular shape, and we know exactly, oh, this is the Empire State Building, and this is whatever, it's like very clear to us. But then if you saw it from the top, you wouldn't maybe even necessarily immediately recognize, because it looks so different, and everything, some things have a bigger surface, obviously, but it's just these like squares, basically, or like roads. But making it almost a two-dimensional bird perspective thing is something that is so three-dimensional, which again will let
Yeah.
you zoom.
And it's very close to like patterns. Like some
Yeah.
patterns are even literally called like that kind of perspective, like
Hmm.
as they give the idea of bird's perspective, that of buildings seen from above.
Hmm.
This, um,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah, the repetition of a grid
Right.
could be, yeah. Yeah, sounds good. I also see images already, like
Yes.
of people in positions, and that you really have to think long or look quite a while before you can separate them and
Yes.
separate people, or yeah, yeah.
I love that. And that then being a musical score in itself, just
Mm-hmm.
like what we were talking about, the distance of your, at first we were just talking about the distance of your stamps, right? But then also like that being the distance of the people,
Mm-hmm.
even, the thing.
Yeah.
And then again with the whole COVID thing, it's like it's just,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's like actually really interesting. Can there ever be two shapes next to each other? I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, it's just food for thought. It's just like some images, but
Mm-hmm.
I think helpful for um, further deep diving.
Yeah. And then like we thought about like to bring in some artists, or like if that ever happens, to make like a real project going on this. um I could really imagine like if we have a clearer view, and then like just like that we can like um have some artists involved with like really specific questions, but so that they can do completely their thing, but if it fits so well in their world.
Hmm.
This I like a lot, like if you can get like a project where with very different influences, but like people get to know like really what they're supposed, or what they're supposed to do, but like that it fits completely into their world as well, so they're also completely free to do as they want, but that it's given like a certain frame already.
Hmm.
um yeah.
I love that too. Yeah, yeah. That it's and that it becomes in itself a score that is can be played by other artists of different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that you have your part of free interpretation on
Right.
that score, or within that the limitations, and then before you decide if you like those limits or guidelines or not, and so you decide if you want to participate or not. Like yeah. Like
Uh,
if projects are too free, I find it also difficult personally to add in something, like because then I'm kind of gone in like like a whole um I don't know, it never stops, you know.
yeah, that's cool. I love that. I'm actually really excited. I
Yeah.
hope we can do things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, there's also so many ways. It's so open to like where to start and what to do, but I feel like it's very doable. Like it's nothing that is too crazy either. That's what I love about it. It seems very
Mm-hmm.
practical and very, but then there's many ways of where to start and how to approach, which is
Mm-hmm.
what I would love to maybe for the next video or something, or maybe we can even like try sketching something out or something of
Mm-hmm.
how to start making or how to start, yeah, making the score,
Yeah.
making the framework.
And at the same time, I don't feel the pressure that we have to give like a finished thing like for
Right.
this project. Like if the discussions, the stream of thoughts and exchange, this is already the thing on itself. So because it anyway would take more time to really create something or get to a real piece, this can take a year or two maybe, I
Yes.
think. If it's got to be
Your
good.
time, it's like
So then we relax. Like I mean, then we don't have the pressure. Like oh, this needs to be a finished piece, and like yeah, being
right.
not happy with it or
It's
that
so
it's
even
not.
if it's more like a presentation of what we're thinking, less like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but like, but just like a little us being able to talk about it more in a more structured way and just really almost drafting out a whole concept, almost more like a concept of the whole thing, and maybe we can get as far as getting parts of the score, starting with parts of the score.
Yeah,
I
yeah, like little impressions, like a
Right,
rough,
just little impressions,
yeah.
like having
Mm-hmm.
like two prints of yours, like two dies, and maybe I can shoot something from the top, and maybe I can make some. Once we have that, I would be willing to do something sonically, um, probably vocally, and just think about it in a specifically more musical context. Also as like an additional layer that can be useful for whoever wants to do the project, and yeah, I think though that's realistic and that would make sense to me. How do you feel about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.